Hey guys, thanks for watching. Today we have a new video about the approach I used to get to 1 million EuroBonus points in the past years. This is something I have been using for a couple of years now, and I have been adapting and refining for a while. If you have suggestions on how we can improve this further, just let me know in the comments. And by the end of this video, I will show you some examples on how you could build a setup for yourself or make your current setup stronger to make sure you accelerate your point earning and reach rewards faster. Again, if you like this video or you find it useful, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button so that you can get notified about all our latest videos. In today's videos, we'll cover several aspects that you will need to consider to build a very solid point earning structure. We will talk about first credit cards, the SAS credit card lineup, which includes the American Express, the Mastercard, and the SAS Travel Wallet card. We will also talk about Betalo, which is a payment service that lets you use your credit cards to pay for your bills, your rent, your insurance, your phone bills, etc. Next, we will also cover the online shopping portal. So this is where you can go online to buy all your stuff, like your electronics, your clothes, your groceries, and get points through those orders. We will also talk about special agreements that you can use to earn points for utilities or subscriptions, such as your mobile phone, your internet, your electricity. These are special companies that have some agreements with SAS, and by switching to them, you can earn recurring bonuses every month. One thing we will also look at is point sharing or family sharing. This allows you to connect all your family members' accounts to your account, so then you can see all your EuroBonus points in a single unified account. This lets you reach to rewards much faster. Towards the end, we will also look at earning points through transportation, staying at hotels and special promotions. And last but not least, this is very important, of course, is earning points through flying. But most of this video will be centered in earning points through your spending. But before we move on, I wanted to share some sort of breakdown on how I made 1 million points and where all these points were coming from. As you can see, only about a quarter of the points I earned were coming from actual flying. I made 250,000 points, almost 255,000 points through flying. Yes, it's true that this is a lot of flying, but if you look at the big picture, this only represents about a quarter of the total point I earned. So most of the points are actually coming from my credit cards, from my American Express and my Mastercard. So when you look at the numbers, I made 258,000 points from my American Express and 262,000 points from my Mastercard. So that adds up to over 500,000 points with my credit cards. And then if you look here, I also made 62,000 points with a credit card I used to have in the past, which is a SAS Diners Club. This is no longer valid in Sweden, so they closed down the card, but I used to have it before I moved to the American Express. Then in the top, you can see that I made almost 80,000 points from online shopping. So this is through the SAS online shopping portal. The interesting part about this point is that these are points that if you go to the store, you don't get. It's only ordering online. And most of the time, you will be buying the stuff anyways. So this is an important thing to consider. It's worth checking which stuff you can buy online so that you can leverage this point earning resource. Then here in the top, you see transportation. This is essentially car rental. I made 17,000 points renting cars during trips. And then utilities is basically my electricity and my phone bills, which are coming with recurring bonus points every month because I switched to these providers. I will show you in a little bit. Then to wrap up, I made 16,000 points in hotels and promotions and about 45,000 points from family sharing. So this means that these 45,000 points were actually coming from family members that earned these points either through flying or through their purchases. But then we connected all our accounts and we could see a unified balance. So let's actually move on to the approach I use to accelerate my earning and to get to 1 million points. So you first have to have your SAS EuroBonus account. And then I like to think of this as having a point funnel, which are going to be our credit cards. So all our expenses are going to go through our credit cards. And what I recommend is to have a main card and a backup or a secondary card. And the reason is that maybe your main card is not taken everywhere. For example, I have an American Express as my main card, and not all the shops take American Express. So that's why I have my Mastercard as a secondary card. Or it could be that you go abroad and sometimes there's a transaction error, or sometimes you reach your spending limit with that card, so then you want to go to your backup card. Of course, you have the flexibility of choosing these cards according to your taste and your convenience. In my case, I have as my main card the American Express Elite card from SAS, and I have a SAS World Premium card as a backup. But there are other alternatives for choosing these two cards. If you wait a couple of minutes, then I have another slide on some of the possible combinations you can use, including the SAS Travel Wallet. So in terms of the expenses that we have, I usually tend to think of 3 different categories for my expenses. So we have in real life purchases or in real life expenses. We also have online purchases, and then we have our bills. And the reason I separate these invoices from the other categories is that usually in the Nordic countries, you receive an invoice or a factura, and then you cannot really pay this with your credit card. You need to use a special bank transfer. So we will cover how to actually pay for these bills using your credit cards so that you can earn points. And these bills include, for example, your phone subscription, your internet, water, electricity, insurance, loans, rentals, apartment, etc. So in real life purchases are pretty straightforward. This is when you go to the shop, and my strategy there is I always try to use my main card, and I only switch to my backup card when the main card doesn't work. So if the shop doesn't take American Express in my case, or I run out of my spending limit, then I switch to my backup card. But other than that, I always put my expenses, let's say a coffee or a meal, or you pay for a bus or a taxi or a train, then everything goes into my main card. And then another strategy I use is that I try to move all the possible in real life purchases to online purchases. And here's why. So online purchases are interesting because you can look at the provider or the merchant. For example, if you want to buy books or electronics or clothes or even groceries with some supermarkets, most of these merchants have agreement with SAS. And what SAS provides is an SAS shopping portal. Instead of going through the merchant's website directly, you can first go to the SAS online shopping portal, search for your merchant, and then get redirected or referred by SAS to the website. I will actually show you the screen in a second so that you can actually see how it looks. And then feel free to check out my separate video on how to actually use the shopping portal from the beginning to the end and how to earn points. But the idea here is that all the online purchases, no matter what I want to buy, I first look for the merchant on the SAS shopping portal. Then I get referred to the merchant's website. And then finally, when I place the order, I either use my American Express if they take it, my main card, or my secondary card. So this is interesting because the points that you get through the shopping portal are on top of the ones you get on the credit card. And then usually the points you earn through the shopping portal are usually much more generous than the ones you earn through the credit card. So this means that on top of what you're earning from the card, you can get a 60 or 70 points per 100 kroner from the shopping portal itself. And then finally, we have our bills. And usually how it works is if you are in the Nordic countries, you get your invoice and then you have to pay with special bank transfer that you can pay directly to the ones who is issuing the invoice. And then this means that if you're paying for rent, for example, this is essentially a bank transfer and then you can earn no points. And usually rent is quite expensive, or loans or insurance is quite expensive. So if you pay 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 kroner in rent or in bills, this means that you will earn 0 points on those. But this is where Betalo comes in. And Betalo is a payment service I use so that I can pay my bills with my credit card. And then they accept both American Express and Mastercard. They charge a small fee, but it's usually worth it because of the points you get. So then when I receive a bill, I just log into Betalo, I input my bill information, and then I select the credit card I want to pay with, and then I earn points by the end of the month from my credit card. So then last but not least, I want to talk very briefly about some special agreements for some service providers that I also use to accelerate my earning. In my case, for example, for broadband, for my mobile phone, for my cell phone, and for my electricity, I use these companies that have a special type of contract where they are giving you not only a sign-up bonus when you switch to their provider, but also they give you a monthly bonus in points. So for example, I changed my electricity company to Fortum. This Fortum gives us 10,000 points as a welcome gift, but also 250 points every month. And the interesting thing is these companies also send you a regular bill. So on top of the points you get from the agreement, you also can use a trick from Betalo to pay for your bill. So not only you're getting 250 points every month just because you have this particular agreement or company, but also by paying the bill, you get your points from your credit card. So as a recap, this is the complete strategy I have been using for the past couple of years to get to 1 million points. And this is how I try to optimize my spending. And then to summarize, I wanted to show you also how it looks for me in a per month basis. So what I did is I signed up for the SAS American Express Elite as my main card and the SAS World Mastercard Premium as my secondary card. And then I try to put everything into my American Express. So if I put 10,000 kroner every month, that means 2,000 points that I get just from my American Express every month. And then if that doesn't work because the shop doesn't take American Express, or if I go over my limit, then I use my backup card, which is my Mastercard. The next thing I do is I try to order everything through the SAS shopping portal. And then I usually spend around 1,500 kroner every month in some shops, for example, my gym stuff. And then I typically get between 2,000 and 2,500 points every month from the shopping portal itself. The next thing I do is I pay for all my bills using Betalo. So I typically put 15,000 kroners every month in rent and utilities, and this gives us around 3,000 points every month. And finally, I switched my electricity and my phone provider. So besides the sign-up bonus, the welcome gift that you get, I also get 750 points every month just for having my phone with them and my internet provider and my electricity. So if you add up, then this means that I earned over 8,000 points every month. This is almost 100,000 points every year. So simply by optimizing my expenses like this and choosing the right credit cards and payment services, I was able to get at least 100,000 points every year from my expenses. And this is not even including the sign-up bonuses. So the first year, if you sign up for these cards, then you can get a higher bonus as a welcome gift. Now, the most interesting part to me is that these are expenses that I have anyways, regardless if I try to optimize for point earning or not. Now, if you're wondering how it looks for you, you can download the free calculator that I included in the description of this video. This is a spreadsheet that you can get. You can put in your numbers of how much you spend, which cards you have, and then it will estimate how many points you should expect from your spending. Now, let's talk about each of these components individually, starting with credit cards. We have discussed about having a main card and the backup card, and there are several alternatives to choose from. So here I wanted to show you some examples of the power of combining two cards or more and how you could use this to leverage your point earning strategy. So the first example is what I currently use myself. So I have the American Express Elite card from SAS as my main card, together with an SAS Mastercard Premium as my backup card. Now, both are the most expensive cards in their lineups, so it is a little bit expensive to maintain, but the reason I chose them in the beginning was because first, they have a very large sign-up bonus. So now if you apply to this card using the link I provided below, you can get 22,000 points. And then if you apply it to this card, you can get another 10,000 points. So that was one reason for why I chose these cards. But also, if you look at them together, they provide not only a very high earning rate and a very high sign-up bonus, but they also provide, to me, something that is very important, which is a fast track to gold status. This card provides 20,000 status points. And these status points are essentially like if you were flying. These 20,000 points mean that you are automatically SAS Silver. Just by getting the card, you are automatically SAS Silver. But then if you combine it with this other card, then you get an extra 12,000 status points. Every month you get 1,000. So when you look at these two cards together, I get 32,000 qualifying points as if I were flying. And then I'm very short to the threshold of 45,000, which is what they require to be SAS Gold. So this is a great way to get some sort of head start or fast track to gold, which gives me a Star Alliance Gold benefit, including free baggage, lounge access, standby upgrades, and many other benefits. Now, I have to say that these are useful to me personally because I travel quite often. And then it's very important and convenient for me to have lounge access or free baggage, even if I pay for the lowest price ticket. But then it might not be suitable for some other people if you're not interested in travel that often. Another great benefit from this card in particular is the flight 2-for-1 coupon. And then this is a coupon that you can get twice a year after spending a certain amount of money with the card and allows you to get a reward ticket at half the price. So another option, if you want to make the maintenance a little bit cheaper in this card and you're not so interested in getting fast track to gold, is this combination of the American Express Premium card and the Mastercard World card. These cards have a high earning rate and they have a decent sign-up bonus. So if you sign up for this card today, you can get 15,000 points, and then for this one, I think it's 3,000. So overall, you will get 18,000 points out of just signing up. And then with this card, you can also get the Fly 2-for-1 coupon once a year. And then this card is much cheaper. It's about a third of the price of the American Express Elite. Of course, the earning rate is not as high, but it's still a very solid earning rate. And then finally, if you want to really keep the maintenance at a minimum, you could choose to have just the Mastercard and then use as a backup card something that is called the SAS Travel Wallet. They recently introduced this card. It's a prepaid card, and the interesting thing is they allow you to have multiple currencies in here. So you can transfer maybe 10,000 kroner, and then you can also hold 10 euros and $100 in the same card. And when you pay, then you will be prompted to the options on how you want to pay, and then you get immediate conversion rate. So the advantage here is that these cards are very cheap to maintain, but then the drawback is that you don't get the very good sign-up bonus here. It's only 3,000 points for getting the MasterCard. So these are only some of the options. You can also go for the classic card from SAS, or you can choose not to have the American Express at all or just have MasterCard. All right, so now let's move on to paying services. And this company I mentioned before, Betalo. So what is interesting about Betalo is that it lets you pay invoices and your bills with your credit card that you would normally have to pay via bank transfer. And they usually charge a fee, which is between 1% and 2.5%. But of course, this fee is usually worth paying considering that you're getting lots of points on your bills. You can do the math, but you will see that actually, if you are going to buy these points, it's usually much more expensive to buy than going through Betalo. So what you want to do is you want to use the app, or you want to go log into Betalo.se. And here are some examples. So if you spend 15,000 kroner in invoices and then you do it with bank transfer, then of course you get 0 points. And these are bills that presumably you will have to pay anyways. For example, your rent or your expenses at your apartment or housing or insurance. Now, if you pay for these 15,000 kroner in bills with Betalo and then you select the American Express options, they usually charge 2.5%. So you will end up paying 15,375 kroner, but you would get 3,000 points back. So usually if you want to buy 3,000 points from SAS, then you would usually get charged about 900 kroner. So this means that you're getting the 3,000 points for about a third of the price of the market. And then the next option is to use Betalo, but to use your MasterCard instead of your American Express. Then you get a lower fee, which is 1.8% usually. And then you would end up paying 15,300 kroner, but you would get 2,250 points. So this is a great way to accelerate your earning if you're already paying for bills. Just charge them to your credit card. All right, now let's talk about the SAS online shopping portal. And this is a great way to get extra points for all your purchases, often at very lucrative rates. And what you want to do is you want to think first of what in real life purchases you have, what in real life expenses, where you're going to the store, to the physical store, and think if you cannot order some of them online. For example, books or clothes or furnitures or even groceries. So you want to go to onlineshopping.flysas.com and you will see this landing page. And once you get onto this page, you see all the different suggestions, all the current campaigns, because usually they have campaigns with increased earning rates. and all the different merchants. So on this website, you can search not only by the list of all the shops you can search, you can see there's a huge list of shops. So another way of looking at this merchant is through categories. So you want to go, for example, books and films, or for kids or electronics. And then once you click on the merchant, so you will be able to see the earning rate. So in this case, this merchant is 15 points per 100 kroner spent. Now, this is the interesting part because these 15 points are on top of the earnings that you get from your credit card, because these are points from the shopping portal. But then there's other stores with a much higher earning rate. For example, if you want to buy stuff for the gym, supplements, you get 60 points per 100 kroner. So this is often very lucrative. And what you want to do is you want to go through the store by clicking on this Shop Now link. So this is SAS who is referring you to the shop. What you have to do in order for this to work is you have to log in with your SAS account. And then once you log in, you get referred to the same website where you can place your order. And after you have placed your order, you will get the points in your account. I also have a tutorial on how to use this shopping portal step by step. So from the beginning to the end, and how you can keep track of your purchases and how you can make sure that everything works and you got your points. So feel free to check that out. The link is in the description. It's another separate video. The link is in the description down below. All right, so now let's take a look at these special agreements I was mentioning for utilities or services. In my case, I signed up for two providers. One is Fortum, which is my electricity company, and they offer currently 10,000 points as a sign-up bonus and also 250 points per month. So this means that in a year, you can get 13,000 points just for switching your electricity company. Fortum is also a company that offers 100% renewable energy. So that's another reason why I switched, because I really like that approach. And as I said before, I combine this with Betalo. So when I get my bill from Fortum every month, I not only get the 250 points credited into my account because of Fortum, but I also get 750 extra points every year just by paying through Betalo. What I also did is I switched my phone company to A3. And A3 offer not only a phone subscription, but also mobile broadband or broadband with fiber. So this means that depending on the sign-up bonus and how many points you earn per month, you can easily get from 5,000 to 30,000 points every year. So this is something you would like to consider. For example, they have some subscriptions where you get 5 gigs and then you are signed up for 2 years. You get 3,000 points as a welcome bonus. You get 125 points every month. But then they have also more advanced subscriptions for your phone. You get 3,000 points and then you get 425 points every month. One nice thing is that when I switched to this provider, I didn't have to change my phone number. So you can keep your phone number and just change the provider, and then you can start getting these points every month. Okay, so next, let's look at family point sharing or point sharing. So point sharing lets you connect other accounts to yours, and then their points get transferred to you automatically. So this is something great to have between like family members or members in a household or travel buddies, because then you can really accelerate your earnings towards rewards. For example, if you have a partner or if you have a family of multiple members and you are all flying together at the same time, this means that instead of each of these accounts growing individually, you can put the effort all together and then you will reach to the next reward much, much faster. So I have a separate video, feel free to check that out. I will link it in the description down below, where I show how to connect other accounts to yours using family point sharing, but also what happens after you have done it. All right, we are reaching the end soon. If you are reached to this part of the video, thank you so much for watching. If you like it or find it useful, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button or sharing with a friend maybe. It really helps us create more useful content, and if you have comments or suggestions, just drop a comment down below. One of the last categories is hotel stays or transportation and special promotions. And one example is car rental. So if you're going on a holiday or a business trip and you're thinking of renting a car, you should consider using the SAS portal, which has a special link to the provider. For example, I used Avis in the past and I got 70,000 points just for hiring or renting the car through their website. After you finish the rental, you get this point into your account, and sometimes they do run special promotions with larger bonuses. For example, they currently have this getaway with 6,000 points, and you earn 6,000 points when you do a 4-day rental. The same goes if you take a taxi or a bus. For example, there are some companies, Flick Taxi or Flick Busana, which have special deals with SAS. And if you book through them, then you get almost 1 point per crown, which is a very, very good earning rate. It's the same case with hotels. So if you are going on a trip and then you're trying to book a hotel, instead of using hotels.com, the regular provider, what you can do is go into SAS website and then click on their link of hotels.com. All right, so our last and final category to earn points faster is, of course, flying. So in my case, as we have seen before, it represents about a quarter of the points that I earn every year. So this is a very important category for me. The thing is that here the strategy is a bit more complex because airlines keep changing constantly and they keep evolving their fare structure. So there's no solid formula that tells you how you can speed up your earning, but I do have some tips in general. So for example, try to stick to SAS whenever possible. So usually, most of the SAS flights have the highest earning rates for some routes. So if you compare the route Stockholm to Milan with SAS or with some other competitive, for example, Norwegian or Lufthansa, then usually you get more points through SAS, and sometimes it's cheaper. But this is very dependent. Sometimes it's better to fly Lufthansa. You get the same amount of points, but the flight is cheaper. So this is something you really need to keep an eye. And then another very important thing is to check the fare or booking families. So usually when you book, that your ticket is tied to some of these letters like K, L, T, Q, V, E, M. And then these letters represent some fare structure. And then depending on these letters is how many points you will earn. So sometimes it's worth looking at these letters before you actually finalize the booking, because sometimes you can pay a little bit extra, maybe 100 or 200 kroners, and then you get 2,000 extra points. What I recommend here is to actually go into SAS website and then try to check their tables. If you're flying within Europe or to the US or Asia, you can actually check the fare structure they have, the families, and how many points you will earn. Another recommendation is that you can stay tuned to offers and sales. You can turn on email newsletters. So I know that most people hate email newsletters, but in my case, I have them on for SAS and maybe some other airlines like Lufthansa, Thai Airways, United. Often when they have sales or offers, special offers, then they notify via email very quickly. So for example, SAS has this 2-for-1 in premium economy every month or so. And also they have every Thursday this promotion that is called Now or Never, where they discount the price only for a few hours. I think it's from 6 to 12 every single Thursday. Try to book in advance if possible, especially if you find these promotional fares. Try to look far out in your calendar and maybe book any trips that you have in mind already. Always try to pay with your SAS credit cards, because some of these cards not only provide insurance, but also they provide extra EuroBonus points on SAS tickets if you pay with these cards. And finally, when you're considering looking for partner airline tickets, for example, Star Alliance tickets, you need to make sure that you check the fare classes. Sometimes it happens that we are paying for a very expensive trip. That fare doesn't qualify in SAS. So this is something that changes constantly, and before actually spending some money on your trips, it's worth checking this table. So, all right, so we are reaching the end now. Thank you so much for staying tuned, and thank you so much for watching. I wanted to wrap up showing 2 examples that you can use, setting them up for yourself and earn a lot of points in a single year. So the first example we'll look at is how to earn 100,000 points in 1 year and have a fast track to SAS Gold, including being SAS Silver member. So these tables are included for free in the point calculator I include in the description below. You can just hit the link and download it. And then you can customize it according to your spending, and then you can see how many points you should expect to earn in a year. So the first thing in this strategy of getting 100,000 points is to get the SAS American Express Elite. So this card comes with an earning rate of 20 points per 100 kroner, and then it comes with a 22,500 bonus point as a sign-up bonus. So this is if you apply to the card using the link I include in the description below. So then in this case, let's say that you spend 10,000 kroner on this card. This means that you're getting 2,000 points every month, and then by the end of the year, getting 2,000 points every month, and the sign-up bonus, you end up with 46,500 points just for getting this card. The second step is to get the Mastercard World Premium. This is a card with a 15 point per 100 kroner, so slightly less than the American Express, but it comes with a 10,000 kroner sign-up bonus. So if you get this card, you get the sign-up bonus, and then let's say you spend 5,000 kroner on this card, then you would get 750 points every month. And by the end of the year, between the sign-up bonus and the spending, you would get another 19,000 points. Then let's say that on top of those, you identify things that you can buy through your online shopping portal for about 1,500 kroner every month at an earning rate of 75 points per 100 kroner. So for example, pharmacy, it's one very good category. Then you would get 1,000 points every month from the shopping portal. Of course, this is on top of the points that you get from your card. And then by the end of the year, you can get another 13,000 points. So then I consider that you switch your electricity company to Fortum. So this gives you another 10,000 points the first year, and then 250 points every month. So this means by the end of the year, 1,300. And then you get another 8,000 points from switching your phone provider to A3 with a 3,000 sign-up bonus and a 425 points for your subscription, which is what I'm currently using. So if you add all up, then you will get 100,100 points. And then if you remember, these cards not only give you SAS Silver status for free from the American Express, but also you get almost to SAS Gold. So this means that if you fly at least one road trip between Europe and the US a year, you're automatically SAS Gold. So very little effort to be SAS Gold. Then you get launch access, you get free baggage, you get fast track security, you get standby upgrades just by flying once every year. So this is one scenario. Of course, this requires, as we said before, to go for the most expensive cards and also some switching companies here. But I also have another example where you don't need to go that hard with the cards. You can keep the Mastercard World Premium, but here you can see that I changed the American Express Elite, which is quite expensive, for an American Express Premium card. Then instead of getting 20 points here, you get 15 points per 100 kroner. And then you get a smaller sign-up bonus, which is 15,000. So then if you keep spending the same amount, then you would get 1,500 points every month to a total of 33,000 points. Then let's say that you spend less in the shopping portal, you add up to 9,000. And finally, for the phone provider, I assume here that you go for a lower plan. So this new scenario adds up to 80,000 points in a single year. Again, these are just two scenarios. You can change your cards, the card that you want, according to your taste. Sometimes you don't want to go with the Mastercard World, you want to go with a Travel Wallet, or you just want to keep the American Express. But the important stuff here is that you can play with, if you want to switch your electricity company, if you want to switch your cell phone provider, then you will get a different amount. Feel free to check out this calculator. You can get it for free in the description. And then I think we have reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And then I hope that this was useful and helpful. Please consider subscribing and sharing with your friends and family. And please leave us your comments and questions in the comments. We'll respond to them. All right, see you next time.